Well, this is one that the deck took me from the 80s. The deck just here, you can have it. Come pick up hay. Come pick up hay, and in exchange, I'm going to give you a junk lot of everybody.
I give them a recipe on
What do they need to do?
what they do is they take your fearless and then put a 10-speed transmission from every systems he has on it. Give them a bird, like bird engine riders, each have second, third, inside, tiny box.
Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. I call it to order.
Okay. Now we'll try it. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 26, 2023 meeting of the Mayor and Aldermen of Monteagle, Tennessee, which I now call to order. Will our chaplain please pray for us?
We need it.
Please pray with me. Jesus, you were born in a little town. You grew up under the authority of local leaders and officials who managed the majority of your daily life. We lift up our local leaders today. We pray for our mayor, city council, police chief, fire chief, county commissioners, judges, and all who serve our town. Strengthen them with wisdom and grace for the heavy burdens they carry. May they manage their teams and projects with love. Keep their hearts pure and their eyes turned toward your face as they work in the best interest of the people they are called to serve. It is in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Nate, lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, Nate. Roll call, please, by the city recorder.
Dory. Here. Justin. Here. Dale.
Here.
Nate.
Here.
Here. Okay, you've received minutes for public hearings. I'll accept motions to accept those minutes as submitted, unless there are additions or corrections.
I move that we accept them as they read down.
And what's times two? We have 2 hearings for May 30th?
Yeah.
Let's do one at a time. The first public hearing on May 30th was for the ordinance 0823. Is there a motion to accept those minutes as submitted?
I'll move to accept it.
Second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next public hearing meeting on May 30th was for ordinance 07-23. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept those minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes of both public hearings are accepted. Minutes of the May 30th Mayor and Alderman meeting. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I move to make a motion to accept those minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Minutes are accepted. Next on the agenda, citizens' comments. Any citizens wish to be heard at this time? Okay. Mayor's communications. Couple of things. Water tank number 1, which is by the fire department, has been completed, is in the process of being filled. All of the tests Friday and Monday were done satisfactorily and met within the guidelines. So our next project will be water tank number 2, which is around DeBose and Gregory Street and Arrowhead. So that's the second tank, the water tank that has to be addressed. And Mr. Wilson will get into that more as we get closer to getting those documents ready. July 4th, we form at Dean Lay's office at 9 o'clock, and some vehicles will be lined up at the depot, but instead of coming up the hill of 41, we're going to meet up top so that we can be a little safer. Police blocking 41 and the winding and climbing up the hill of 41. I felt it was better that we start at the top of the hill. And then the parade starts at 10 o'clock and end at the library. The Grand Marshals are Boy Scout Troop 12 and Cub Scout Troop 3212, because they'll be on a float, and I think it's appropriate that we recognize them. Now I have a message from the mayor of Tracy City, who asked me to announce it, if I can find it, that they're looking for judges for their float competition. And it says, looking for judges for our parade, wasn't sure if you would have time, but wanted to ask. Tuesday, June 4th, 5:30 at City Hall. Let me know, Stacy. So if there's any interest for that, please contact the city mayor at Tracy City and let them know if you're interested in judging at their parade. And I believe that's all I have for comments at this time. Calendar of events, the next Planning Commission meeting will be for 1825, July 24th. I'm sorry? Oh, I said, no. The Mayor and Alderman meeting will be the last Monday in July. Planning Commission will be Thursday, the 13th, I believe it is. We're trying different times. That will be at 4 o'clock. We're trying different times and days. Sometimes 6 o'clock gets too late. If everyone is available and willing, we're going to look at 4 and 5 o'clock starts for some meetings. Okay, reports of committees. Police Department.
Good afternoon, Council. Guys. Not much to really go over. Numbers are coming down as we expected. Total number of calls that were dispatched in the city from 911 dispatch was 506 calls. Total number of reports taken was 30. Total number of citations, 73. The total number of vehicles that were pulled over was 170. And the total number of arrests were 15, which are coming down. And that's exactly what we wanted to happen, is for the arrests to come down. We have had a few stolen items, of which we're very fortunate we were able to recover a stolen trailer and a car. The other one is still working, but thanks to the citizens of Monteagle, we've had several great leads on, so we think we're going to be able to get that item recovered. And really, the only other thing that I want to go over is the traffic on Trussell Road. It's still pretty fast through there, you know, so we'll be monitoring that quite frequently. We have slowed the traffic down in the construction zone, so that's, you know, because of the presence. But it seems like when we get to one side, then the other side speeds up. So we're basically doing the yo-yo effect right now, but as the city grows, you know, it's to be expected. Also too, I was mentioned this morning, this weekend is going to be extremely hot. So, you know, if you have animals outside, make sure they're taken care of. They got shelter, they got plenty of water. And if you're going to be outside, just have plenty of water. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. And thank you for addressing the issues that I raised with you, the construction site around Ace Hardware and the bend around Papa Ron's. They seem to be high-traffic, high-speed areas that you've controlled. So thank you.
They're getting better. So
Yeah. Well, and again, those were citizen complaints that we acted on.
they were.
So, thank you for that, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Well, excuse me, anyone on the council have any questions of the police chief? Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Chief. Fire department?
Evening. Not much to report on the fire department side. I've got 15 emergency calls for the month of June. Those numbers are still in the process of being put in the NEFR system, so it's kind of hit and miss on what they were. The system's been up and down for upgrades right now. Some of the guys that's been doing the commercial pre-plans that I mentioned last meeting, they've got started on all that. I think there's about 4 that they've done so far. This month we've used about 20,000 gallons of water. The department's also started a bi-weekly training program. It's being every other Wednesday nights, and this is in conjunction with to be able to train with Swanee and another neighboring department to be able to go back and forth on opposite weeks, so that's kind of a good thing. And the department's still continuing to sell their food each week for the fresh mess on Monday night, so that's about all we've got for the fire department. Questions on it?
Yes, I have one. What about the painting and repair on the fire hydrants?
The painting is still hit and miss. It's just getting guys the ambition and the willpower to go paint. They've I think done 3 this month. It's not been a hot commodity. The repairs of it, I hope you're referring to the repairs. There's been several folks ask about there was 29 hydrants that was originally a year and a half ago when they tested. I've had a couple of inquiries on that. I think a few of us had in the administration. You know, I think John and Keith familiar with what I'm saying. It's kind of one of those deals where that's more money. If we send it out and get it farmed out to have a third party do it, it's going to be I don't know, that's their business, a chunk of money. But you know what we can do citywide, we're trying to take care of between us and the city guys, and you know, do the maintenance that we can perform in house to save budget, save money.
I've got a quote down there at the plant where the company come around and checked them last year and stuff. The repairs on them, he sent me a quote, and I think it's $26,000 something.
Right.
That's the reason.
That's right.
Y'all trying to fix some of the ones you can fix.
Yep.
How many have been repaired?
Like 13, something like that. I mean, there's just, you know, most of that's just the bare basics, the bare minimums. Maybe a cracked bonnet, maybe a stripped threads on an outlet, something like that we can do in house. Some of them's more extensive, you know, down on the seats and stuff like that, where you're actually going to have to dig it and pull the plug out to work on it. So it's you know, kind of one of them deals where we pick one side on. Sarvisbury, Ty mentioned it. One of his citizens mentioned that to me several times. You know, I think that's a pretty extensive one there that's going to have to be, you know, dug down, and it's having problems with the seat on that one, if I remember right.
So, John, is it mostly a time issue or mostly a money issue? To go through and be able to repair them here and there as they have time?
Well, like I say, I was talking with Travis, and they were going to do some of the easier ones that they could do. And I talked to, I think his name's Joey Cherry. Ain't that who it was? Yeah. I talked to him, and he sent me a quote on repairing them. But that was all of them. That wasn't like the bonnets and stuff where they can fix them. So, you know, if they can get some of them fixed, and they cut down on the money wise for the city to have to pay to have them fixed.
But it's not something where our city workers could do one here and there when they had time? Or?
You know, when you have time.
Well, so it's a time issue more than a money issue? So what is the actual, if we have to replace a hydrant, what is the actual hydrant cost? Do y'all know?
I think the last one was about $2,500, but that's been several years ago. So, I mean, we replaced one of those at Cliff Tops here, but we done had it at the shop.
So $26,000 for 29 repairs doesn't include any changeouts then, it doesn't sound like.
And the thing about it, you got so many different ones in the system. I mean, it's just like, you know, the older ones that's been here forever, you can't get parts for them.
Yeah, I seen one in that book that put in, I think 1956,
So those would be change outs, right?
I'd say. Travis just said a fire hydrant would run $6,000 now.
That's what I was gonna say, there was a
Well,
neighbor.
Chief, if we can meet with that early this week,
Yeah,
tomorrow,
we'll,
the day after,
we'll
whatever your
just keep
schedule
picking,
is,
that's all we can do, yeah.
we can get together and then see which way we're going to go, and I'll
Okay.
report to the council.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the fire chief?
I was curious about the ladder truck.
It's waiting, engine one, I didn't put that on the list. Engine one, that's a warranty job that was overheating its failed pump test last year. Brindley Mountain's been booked out, that's where we got the truck originally. They finally took it in about 2 weeks ago. So it's in Alabama right now being serviced. They've had to pull the whole radiator out, rebore, record, and the whole 9 yards to be able to pass the pump test, but it is a warranty job. So just kind of bearing and buying time right now. As soon as that's finished up and that truck's delivered back, we'll take the ladder truck down and get it in for service.
Is Brindley Mountain gonna do that one as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Do you want to go on?
Yeah, let's go on to the codes. I'm gonna give AJ's report. He's at the Fresh Mess. We're short-staffed tonight for that, if that's okay with y'all.
Yes,
And then I'll
please.
go into building. Codes enforcement, there's 6 codes violations that AJ served throughout the town this month, ranging from yards. I've not broken it down on here, but it's ranging from grass cuts to signage to just odds and ends, typical junk stuff that's always on the list. There's 3 codes violations been closed or satisfied. There's 1 case that we're currently in the process of being served and summoned to city court. So that's a pretty big case, and that's putting it before the town or the city a judge for a hearing on that one. Any questions there on the codes?
I had a question from somebody on Flagpole Heights, a business
Yes,
owner.
I seen that email and I forgot to respond to you.
Yeah, so I looked and it says in one location in our code 50 feet, and in another location it says the maximum building height for that zone, which in that zone was going to be 40 feet.
40 feet. I seen
Do
that.
we do enforcement on that? I mean, I don't know, we probably don't have a way to measure 10 feet difference.
No, that's me.
Okay, all right.
I wasn't gonna pick on a flagpole. I mean, that was just me.
Yep.
If he wants to put one up and it's, structurally sound, I guess we'll thumbs up and enjoy his flag. The building inspections report, there's 6 building inspections been done. This is the usual. This is either rough ends finals or certificates of occupancy. There's 7 new building permit files that's been created. That means that there's 7 new permits been submitted to City Hall, and there's an electronic file open for them now. We're waiting on them to either, do site preps or move forward onto the foundation. So that's where I'm at with that.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I had one more question on the flagpole. So he's going to run a business flag. This
I
is
seen
not
that.
an American flag. So it's kind of like a sign.
I think that falls under the signage and codes. I wasn't gonna get into it in the city meeting,
But
but
it's flag. So that's what we say about flags. We can talk offline about it.
Yeah, we can look into that.
He wanted an American
Thank you.
flag and then his business flag. And that
Are there any
violates
other
flag code.
questions for the
right.
fire chief, code officer?
Keep talking?
No, I don't want to keep talking. I mean, this is stuff that can be decided, and we'll take a look at the governing ordinances and meet with our staff. Thank you. Okay, Parks and Recreation. Again, I thank Doreen, and I'm sure we all do, for the decorations that we have out for July 4th. The businesses have been doing that as well, so thank you all for decorating the town, and Doreen, for you and your committee, whoever they may be.
Thank you.
Anything else on parks? Okay, recreation, a volunteer has stepped forward to oversee the recreation department, and I thank him for his efforts. Mr. Ty Burnett will be leading that effort, and hopefully we can get some of the recreational programs started. We're working on perhaps baseball league or tournament to finish out 23, and next year we'll start with the schools and the youth. So that's as far as I can go with recreation. Did you have anything special, Ty? Thank you. Utility manager. Do you yield the floor to Mr. Wilson, or do you have something to?
I'm not smoking my piece.
I was afraid of that.
Just to start out with, like the mayor said, the tank is complete. Everything went well. Should be full by the end of the day, and in full operation. So, any questions about the tank?
Where did we fall on the supplemental to deal with the rust issue?
I think it was less. We haven't gotten their final pay application, so as soon as we get that in, I'll be able to give a summary of that. So, and then all those pay applications come to the town. So,
We really went out hard on the paint job, didn't we? It's very decorative up there.
make room for lots of graffiti.
Yeah.
Nice and simple and shiny.
John Deere green.
That's right.
Okay, would you like to discuss the 2 task orders you submitted?
Sure. So, like you mentioned previously, TDEC requires that the town perform maintenance on both tanks. That was a requirement that they came in and talked to us about last year. They've given us a timeline to get those done. And so we are ready to proceed with the next tank. That way that we can meet TDEC's timeline on getting both of those up to speed and have repairs made and the tanks painted and sandblasted. So we're hopeful that if we can get started with that one right after the ending of this one, that contractor will have a good feel for the town and what to expect. Both tanks are similar. That we'll get some good bids on the second tank. Is very similar. I think it should probably be less than the first tank. I think there were a bit more structural issues that were more visible on this tank. Not to say once we get into that tank, maybe there's some hidden things that we don't know, but it should be less than this tank. So we're hopeful that if we can do that, we could have both tanks completed before winter time, and that would appease TDEC to get that done. So we're prepared to do that.
Okay. This task order is similar to what we've approved in the past, and you need
That's correct.
a motion to approve so you can go forward.
That's correct.
Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to accept the task order for what I'm calling water tank number 2 by DeBose. Is there a motion to accept?
Are you going to let us see it?
It's the same as all the others. I'd like to get a motion and then I can answer your question or give it
Okay.
to you for your approval.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Accept the
Is there a
task order.
second to the motion?
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion?
Can we see it before we vote on it?
Well, if you're prepared to discuss it with Mr. Wilson, I can do it now.
Yeah.
While he's reviewing that at great length, there was another task order you submitted?
Sure. As part of the funding that we been talking about over the last several months, the ARP grants, which is the American Rescue Plan grants, and the ARC grant that the town procured last year, maybe 18 months ago. The ARP funding is part of the American Rescue Plan that we recently received, or the town received documents saying that we have been approved for those funds. The mayor has those documents and has executed those documents that we've been discussing over the last several months, which makes it official that the town now has access to those American Rescue Plan funds. And so I guess going through the background of backing up just a little bit of what we talked about several months ago is that the ARP and ARC funds are to be used for the I&I correction project in the sewer system. And so that's part of the camera work, smoke testing, and the things that have taken place over the last 12 months. That's a precursor to determining what issues that we have in the sewer system, and that grant funds will go toward repairing as many of those as we can repair with the budget money that we have allowed from the grants. And so the outlay of the town is zero. I think there's a total of $1.67 million, some odd amount, between the two grants. 500,000 from ARC. There was a portion, maybe 700 and some odd thousand, that's divvied out to Monteagle, and I think 430 some odd $1,000 that Marion County portioned out to the town so that that equals your 1.6 some odd $1 million. And so all of those funds will go toward the prioritization and design and construction of repairing as many defects as we can repair with those funds. And so the hope is to get going on that project so that we can begin and get some of that work before wintertime, so that we don't have to treat and transport I&I throughout the winter. The project will likely be about a year long, just because of that type project. It will involve manhole repairs, mainline repairs, lateral, private service laterals up to the property line repairs. So it'll be a comprehensive project in priority areas that we have prioritized from the CCTV and the manhole and the smoke testing, so that we can ensure that the best bang for the buck, that we're being very efficient with the funds and trying to fix all the worst things first. It's not going to fix all of your problems. There'll be certainly projects that'll need to be done in the future, but one step at a time, we're going to try to see what can be done with the funds that we have, and then come back and we can do a post-monitoring on the system after that project as a measuring stick to see how successful that was, what amount of I&I is left, and then that will tell us what our next step, and we'll have a bucket list at that point of things that were not repaired, so at least we'll know what's left and have an idea about what funds it will take to repair the remainder of the system. It's certainly a long process. Unfortunately, it took 40, 50 some odd years to get into this. It's not going to be corrected overnight, so it's a process, but we've come a long way in identifying where things are at, where the defects are at. Now we're at the stage of having to make repairs, and that'll take about a year long to do that type of project.
But now we got the money to do it.
That's correct.
What, does that also cover the wall that was at the sewer plant was it in the sewer plant?
Yeah, no water.
No, the water
I
plant.
mean.
No,
Which,
that's a
and I
separate.
have
Okay.
received notice from your office that as yet the lab has not sent the results in yet for the core drillings. It's in the works. As soon as we
That's
get those
correct.
reports, we'll advise the council.
Most certainly, yeah. We expected those, with hopeful that they could be here before tonight's meeting, and so we anticipate any time we would be getting those in this week or next week.
But this grant money won't cover that.
No, ma'am, it will not.
On tank 2, I've noticed it costs more for construction administration than it does for actual repair. It only costs $15,000 for repair and $25,000 for construction administration.
Now, say that again.
It's got preparation of contract documents and bidding. It is $15,000. Construction administrative and critical phase inspection, construction administration, $25,000.
Yeah, so the advertisement bid, so the projects will be bid, so there'll be a process when the specifications are put together, and so we itemized all of that out. So there's a cost for bidding the project, advertising, and then there's also a phase for construction administration, which would be when the contractors are on site to get their pay apps, to review those, to identify any work orders or questions or RFIs that come up in the middle of the project. Like similarly, this last project, there was the pitting in the piping, and so we had to deal with that. And so those are the type of things that covers. And so all that's hourly, and if it's not used, then it won't be used. And I don't believe we used all of the funds on this previous contract of our money.
Several of those items are listed as lump sum rather than hourly.
Some of them are, yeah.
Because it did seem, that was my question, it seemed like several of the lump sum items in there might be able to be billed hourly, and is there, what is the rationale between putting something in there as lump sum versus hourly?
There's some things that and we have to do testing or hire out other things that we don't know exactly what it's going to take to do that, and so we're hinging on what we believe, and so if it costs more, then you don't pay anymore. And
Since we're just now seeing this, Mr. Mayor, do you have a recommendations for us on the optional services that are listed in that contract about whether we should accept them?
Sure. Is everyone done reviewing them before I call for motions and discussions?
Well, we've already, this is discussion
There's one,
on this
the
task
first
order.
one, on the first task order.
Yes.
So are we done reviewing that?
I have a question about the optional services listed in the
I
contract.
understand. Are we done reviewing it?
Is everybody, I think it's down there.
Okay, can I have it back and I'll see what you're talking about? Because I did not memorize it. Which, okay, there's a motion on the floor that's been seconded for the task force concerning, the task order concerning the tank by DeBose, tank number 2 as I'm calling it. So what is your question?
Well, on page 1, it talks about optional services on interior inspection
Right.
that it recommends, and that's a lump sum item on the second page of $7,200, and I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on how we should vote on that, because we haven't seen this till now, so we haven't had a chance to
Well, I just
review
got it Friday. I'm very sorry for the delay. I didn't send it out.
Let me explain that for you.
Sure.
So the optional items are, so if you remember on the first tank, we did not do what's called a washout to take a look at everything inside. And so once they got in there, they found the pitting in the pipe. And so then we had to do a change order because that was not originally part of the inspection report that was performed by the third party who inspects for the town back a couple of years ago. And so it's optional on this. The town can decide whether to perform that inspection by a third party person to go look at all of more inside the tank to see if there's anything that may be hidden that may result in a change order. There's certainly a cost to that, but if you don't find it until after the contract is already bid, then that would result in a change order, and at that point, the contractor has pretty much, it's hard to negotiate because he knows you have to do it, and so the price could be higher from the contractor. And so do you pay the money up front a little bit to look at it and see what's there, and then if there is something there, then you put that in the bid items so that they know what they're bidding on? Or do you hinge and not get that additional look and then gamble that there's nothing there that the contractor may have changeover on? So it's kind of a roll of the dice. So just comparatively, it was 16,000-ish on that one.
Well, that was the NTE. We don't know what it was.
Right. And so, would it have saved that 16,000? Would it have been 6,000 if he could have bid that outright in the bidding process, or would it have still been the same price? And so it's hard to know, and that's why we put it optional, that we'll let you choose whether you want to risk that or just roll the dice and see. Let the contractor, once they get out there, find what they find, and then know that if there's something additional that the contractor's going to want to change order because it's not what they bid on.
Yeah, I guess I do want another question. Why lump sum of recommendations of repairs? That's one of those things that why would we not just do that hourly? That doesn't.
Because we know what it's going to take to write a report, and it's not going to really matter. The tank's not going to change, and so we know from last time what type of effort it's going to take to write a report. So
I don't know. That's why I was wondering if there wouldn't be savings because you've already done one. It's $7,500 to write a report. Seems like a lot, but obviously we're just now seeing this.
We'd be glad to amend it to hourly, but I mean, like I said, it's.
Yeah, we've got so many lump sum components in this contract. I mean, that's, I guess what I would like to see is a move toward more hourly with a not to exceed. Because we've got lump sum on preparation of documents, we've got lump sum on bidding services, we've got lump sum on recommendations of repairs, lump sum on review. But I don't know that we need to stop this now, but in the future for contracts, assuming we can see them ahead of time, I think that'd be my preference so that is the opportunity for savings.
And like a lot of those, just for example, the preparation of documents and bid documents, so you have to send a lot of documents to the printer, and so all that contains the printing cost. And so, there's probably, depending on how many copies, like there was 8 copies floating around, so that's almost $1,000 worth of printing. And so all those expenses they're not expense to the town, they're included in that lump sum amount. So if you do go hourly, then the expenses would be expensed out separately. And so like there's no travel costs for any of the folks to come up here, it's all inclusive. And so you either do time materials hourly or you do lump sum and you don't bill anything else.
So we're paying for reimbursable expenses at a cost plus 10%.
For the hourly.
Simply for the hourly component.
That's correct.
Included in the fees above are reimbursable expenses.
Lump sum is all inclusive. So if there's any expenses associated with printing documents or travel on those lump sum bases, then they're inclusive into the lump sum amounts. So if it was all hourly and time materials, then all the expenses would just be billed outright.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments on Tank 2 proposal, the task order?
I don't.
I'm sorry?
I don't.
Okay. Nope. Jessica? Me neither.
No, I'm
You
good.
okay? Roll call. Roll call vote, please.
Dory?
Are we voting for it or?
Yes.
We're approving the $105,000 contract.
Yes. Jessica? Yes. Dale?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. All right, task order number 2. Is there a motion to accept that?
I'll make a motion to accept task order number 2, which is the sewer rehab.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion on that task order? Which is a continuation of the camera work and the, as we've called it, the I&I and the sanitary sewer project.
We've made a large investment in already getting information in front of us in regard to these repairs. I think Tracy City is also going to be online to do some repairs in reference to I&I that would benefit us eventually. So I don't have any discussion on it. I think the groundwork is laid for this to be accomplished, and I appreciate all the efforts that have been put forward to achieve these grant monies that are going to help us accomplish this. I do understand it's not going to cure our problems. I was 19 years old when this was born in '74, and it was an interesting time then, but I'm sure things could have been done better. But I'm glad we're able to find a repair for a lot of it.
Well, thank you. And your point is well taken, that all of this work is covered by the grants that they've obtained for us. So it, as Mr. Wilson said, the cost to the town is zero. So that's a plus for me, as far as I'm concerned.
Me too.
So the $392,500 compensation to the engineering firm is all covered within this
That's
1.6
correct.
million?
Yes.
It's itemized out, design, construction administration, that's a year-long project, so there'll be monthly meetings and pay applications. There'll be a number of changes that will likely go on throughout the project on these type projects. So there'll be probably 6 or 8 different contractors that'll be participating in the project. One prime, it'll be bid out, low bid, but that project will predominantly be done via trenchless, and so although there will be some digging that goes on because not everything can be performed trenchlessly, but a lot of specialty contractors will come from the Midwest, the Northeast, that only do this type of work, and so it's kind of a circus to get all those types of people in on a project, but they're in and out instead of having roads dug up all over the place. they'll be able to mobilize and repair an entire main line in probably less than a day, and nobody will know that they're there because they won't have to dig up a 15-foot deep manhole or main line. So there's a lot of technology, a lot of specialty contractors will be involved in this type project. So
Is it mostly pipe bursting?
no pipe bursting probably. It'll be all CIPP lining, cured in place lining.
Okay.
For the laterals and the main lines, and we'll probably be lining a lot of manholes instead of replacement. So it's a lot cheaper. CIPP is probably in the neighborhood of $65 to $75 a foot, where digging replacement now would be $250 a foot. So it's a lot more economical, but again, there's no contractors in Tennessee that do that, and so they'll come from all over.
Is there any other discussion or question on this task order? Okay, roll call, please.
Gloria?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Yes. Anything else, Mr. Wilson?
I don't have anything else unless you have.
Does anyone have any
other
questions of Mr. Wilson while he's here?
We don't know anything more about the tank at the stilling well at the freshwater?
We would, I hope to find out this week or next week. Certainly by the next board meeting, we'll have some information to share for sure.
I'm sorry, what project was that?
At the water treatment plant?
The core drillings?
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Well, that's what I reported on earlier, that as soon as your office gets those reports, we'd appreciate hearing from you.
I'll email those and we'll
Thank you.
send their report as soon as we get that.
Any other questions from the alderman? Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wilson, so you said the CIP was a lot cheaper than what? Pipe bursting?
Then digging, like if you had to dig a pop-up, yes ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you. John, did you have anything to add for utility?
No.
Okay. Keith, anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Does anyone, any of the aldermen have any questions for John or Keith at this time? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Where are we? Well, Planning Commission, we haven't had any official or final action on Marriott. They're supposedly going to start digging, they hope, sometime in July, and that's near the Sonic restaurant. DeBose is supposed to close sometime in July, and we're waiting to hear on that. And other than that, I don't know what else would be coming up. As some of you may know, or all of you may know, Anya Sholin is not with Southeast Tennessee Development any longer. She took a new position. Our new planner will be Chad Reese, who was head of that department and a former planner for Monteagle. So he'll be coming to the next Planning Commission meeting. And that's all I have for Planning Commission, unless any councilman has, or any alderman has a question or comment. Okay. Alderman report. Doreen, do you have anything?
Just want to touch up on the 4th of July parade. You'd already mentioned that the parade starts at 10, lineups at 9. It's going to be at the Monument Place there on 41. We still have Feast on the Street the first Thursday of every month from 4 to 8. We have Fresh Mass every Monday from 4 to 6. Produce is starting to come in. There was quite a few vendors up there this afternoon. As far as the senior citizens go, their storage building has been delivered, anchored down, ready to go, fixing to start loading it up. And there will be an information session on Thursday, the 29th, by Jerry Elms. He'll be there to talk about Medicare, Medicaid, benefits that you may not realize you can get. He'll be there to help you with that. And I think that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you. And Marcy, thank you for lining up the vistas to volunteer to move that different items out of that back room.
Still waiting to hear from them. They're supposed to be Thursday. I'm just waiting for confirmation.
Well, we'll have the shelving up and ready to go, so Thursday is still a good day for us. Thank you, Doreen. Jessica, anything?
No.
Dan?
No, sir.
Nate?
Just that, I think I told you before, before the meeting started, we're ready now to submit our application to AIA. I just needed Ed Provost's phone number so that he can add that to the steering committee. So that should be moving forward. And I got word today that we have received a $10,000 grant from the Lyndhurst Foundation to support that effort. So that'll go toward mostly community events, the way the budget is set out, to help us make sure that we get a broad range of input from all the stakeholders in the town. So that's been very thankful. So hopefully that'll be submitted tomorrow if I can get in touch with Ed.
Okay.
Great.
Anything else?
Can I ask Ty a question, please?
Sure.
Great. What about the ball tournament that Tyler was setting up? Have you heard anything else on that? The co-ed or anything?
No, I mean, my understanding is that the tournaments we may do this year will be standalone adult tournaments.
Okay.
So,
Which he's working on, and I haven't received an update yet from Tyler. This is Tyler Campbell that's helping us with the tournament baseball program, and Ty is overlooking the entire recreation. We've talked about the possibilities of soccer one day or maybe some other events, so, but nothing definite yet. Just Tyler's working on it.
we'll be looking at a co-ed ball program next spring.
Awesome. And I was also just reminded that I need to mention about bingo. It's the third Thursday of every month, and it will be opened up to all ages. We did it this month, and we had a really good turnout for it. And we'll open it up. May have to have it out at the pavilion because we had a full house this past time. So, good deal. Now I'm through.
Okay. These are under old business, the second readings. The first one is 7-23, which is to amend the zoning ordinance to remove self-storage facilities from C2 and add self-storage facilities, general warehouses, and hazardous flammable material sales as special exceptions in C3. So is there a motion to accept ordinance 7-23 on the second reading?
I'll make the motion to accept ordinance 0723 on the second reading.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Sorry, it wasn't in the packet. I was trying to put it up.
Do we need roll call vote? Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next one is the second reading of ordinance 14-23, which is the budget amendment to conclude my term, bookkeeping of the playground equipment. That also is in your packet. Is there any, I'll accept the motion to accept 14-23 budget ordinance amendment for the playground equipment.
Move to approve.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next motion, second reading on ordinance 15-220, ordinance 15-23, water rate increase. We've discussed this, you've received that in your packet. Is there a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept ordinance 15-23.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next one on second reading is ordinance 16-23, fire department vehicle, which is something that is another budget ordinance amendment that we need to conclude the purchase of the ladder truck. That was a budget ordinance amendment.
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance number 1623 on the second reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. And the final second reading under old business is ordinance 17-23, which is approving the budget for fiscal year 23-24.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance number 1723 on the second reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion?
Are we going to revisit this in 6 months?
We
As
can.
far as personnel, salary?
We can revisit it. Sure. Roll call. Roll call vote, please.
Lorraine?
No.
Jessica?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, that concludes old business. New business, are there business permits?
2.
2.
All creatures?
Someone here from All Creatures?
Yes, sir.
Please, if you would, come forward.
Yes, sir. They're just moving their business to a different location.
I understand you moved from your business to a different location?
Yes, sir.
Are you staying in Monteagle?
Yes, sir.
Good.
They have to stay in Monteagle.
Well, we're trying.
Well, I think we all know you. Just give us a brief description of what you do and moving and all that.
So we're looking at moving to Dr. Echo's old building and then kind of make a, if we can, a 380 square foot addition between the two buildings. So,
Oh, great. You'll be right downtown.
right.
And you'll be leaving your present location in Monteagle? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
it? Okay.
Give us more room.
Do any aldermen have any questions?
Is that the chiropractor building?
No, ma'am.
That's Echo's. Oh, Echo, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Which was originally a veterinary.
I started out.
Any other questions or comments from the aldermen?
Go for it.
Thanks.
I'll accept it.
Awesome.
Do I need a motion? I'll accept a motion to approve the business permit for All Creatures Veterinary Clinic.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You're approved.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Alexander Farms?
Alexander Farms, anyone here? Okay. Mountain Goat Trail Alliance letter. Under new business. Mr. Wilson, is that you?
I'm scrolling up so everybody can see it. Let's give it just a second. All right, so this is for the first multimodal grant. So this is the $1 million grant that was received back in, what, 2019 now? It's been a while, but we're going to move forward with it. So this is part of the downtown sort of beautification project that will include the Mountain Goat Trail. And this is a $1 million grant that the town has received. It's a 95-5 match, which means the town would be obligated for $50,000. But the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance has raised that $50,000. So this simply acknowledges that we're going to cover, the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance is going to cover that match and lays out how
For the town.
for the town and how the town is going to do it. This is going to be a town grant, so the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance will not have any real involvement in the grant other than to pay the match. And the grant was written in such a way that the trail will be upgraded through town. And so this particular grant right now, TDOT is telling us, is going to start at Catherine Avenue, which is next to CVS, and run to the Assembly. Which is a pretty short stretch for $1 million. So hopefully there's some money left over, and we'll talk in just a minute about another letter that we're going to hopefully approve tonight, which will be for an additional $1 million, which will help us get through the rest of the town, hopefully.
And just for information, what side of the street will it be on? The CVS side or the?
Well, that's something that our engineering firm, so later tonight we'll be hiring an engineering firm, and they'll help us make that determination. We assume it's going to be on the north side where the current trail is and where the bridge project is anticipated to put the trail, but they may tell us different, or they may try to encourage us to do something different. We don't know yet.
Thank you. Now, are you requesting a motion, or what do you want?
So we decided that even though this is only giving money to the town, it does obligate the town to carry out this grant. So we decided it needed a motion and approval. There's no real obligation on the part of the town in this, but we decided that was a safer way to do it. So yes, I would entertain a motion.
No, I will entertain a motion from someone other than Mr. Wilson to accept the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance letter.
I will make that motion. We will accept the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance letter in regard to this grant and the graciousness of the association to cover the city's costs in regard to it.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Who's?
Doreen.
Doreen said, thank you. Is there any discussion on the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance letter that Mr. Wilson has presented? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Nate, for all that work.
Okay. You want to go on with the agreement and your engineering?
So yeah,
Agreement between the town and Mountain Goat Trail Alliance?
yes.
That you asked to be an agenda
was it.
item as well?
That was the line
That was
item we
it?
just did.
And contract with St. John Engineering?
There should also be, that may not be the correct letter. Did the second letter, the letter of support for the new multimodal grant, was what should have been the Mountain Goat letter? The other one came from Patrick. We talked about it. So we have a little bit of a problem here. I can pull it up, I guess. The Mountain Goat Trail Alliance, on behalf of the town, is applying for a second $1 million grant. No, that's the... Oh, no, it's me and my poor writing. This is the one I just described, which is... no, it's not. This is the one saying that we're going to do all the match, and the other one should...
What we're reviewing is the Mountain Goat Trail. They'll pick it up from around Ace Hardware. One leg from the bridge work will go to Catherine Avenue to Assembly Way, and then the next intermodal grant for $1 million will go from Assembly Way to connect here at DuBose by City Hall. So there will be two intermodal grants in the amount of $1 million. From what Mr. Wilson just said, that amount from the first may carry over to the second, assuming there's money left over and hopefully all the bookkeeping will work. So,
yeah, so this letter is a support letter for the second multimodal, and I apologize, I can't read it from up there anyway, and I was describing the second letter with a minute ago, which we approved, and that this is the first one that is explaining how the match would operate and how MGTA will cover the cost of the match. This is a contract.
this is a contract?
This is the second multimodal match letter.
Right.
And I misread
Okay,
it.
fine.
So we have made a motion now to approve that the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance will cover the $50,000 from the first grant. So now we need to make a motion probably to approve that support letter for the second multimodal grant that Debbie and Patrick from the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance are working on, even though my illustrations were wrong on screen. I apologize.
Does this letter cover the second grant for $50,000?
That covers the second grant.
Do you need a motion for this letter?
Yes.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept the letter submitted dated June 21st, 2023, that discusses the $1 million grant for Mountain Goat Trail Alliance in the town of Monteagle, where the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance will provide $50,000 as cash match for the grant award. And the letter goes on. It'll deal with T-Dot right-of-way, the abandoned railroad bridge, etc. That's the projects that will aid this connection. So if you need to review this, we can certainly pass this down to the other alderman.
Dean, you look like you're reading it, so I'm scrolling down for you. You tell me when you...
I was just thinking, the mayor had said they were going to tear down the railroad
That's
bridge.
what I was just saying.
Yeah, so...
They're removing all three bridges.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so the bridge project will include the trail, and it keeps growing. So the bridge project now goes from where the current sidewalk ends all the way to Catherine Avenue. And that's why that first grant has gotten smaller. But the state really encouraged us to apply for this second grant. So what we're hoping is that we can put the leftover from the first together with the second. Because stormwater costs in downtown are liable to be fairly expensive and may run up the costs on that.
But again, the city's not out anything. Mountain Goat is covering it.
That's correct.
But there could be dramatic change in appearance to the design and so forth of this.
We're hoping.
They go back to the dog leg or dog bone or whatever they were.
So the dog bone is now part of, the dog bone's part of the bridge project, so this doesn't have anything to do with the bridge project.
But it's still, people need to be aware, it's going to dramatically change the appearance when it's completed in order
Correct.
to accommodate that.
Correct.
This is not something where it's running along the Swanee route there. I mean, this is going to be a major change.
And what's likely to happen is the bike lanes are going to go away. And that's sort of one of the goals here, is to get all the bicycle traffic on one side of the
Are you
road.
done with the letter?
Yeah.
Well, pass it back, please.
We don't know that, but it's a fair assessment to say that that's likely be what's going to happen. And improvement of the curbs and the general upgrade of the downtown appearance.
So there's a motion on the table and that's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Will, to follow up on Dean, will we be able to see before anything gets carried out? What's
This contract is with the town and TDOT. So the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance does not have any decision-making capacity on what it looks like. So it'll be the town, it'll be our project as the town.
We'll be able to see it before
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah, so basically the contract says you need to allow for multimodal access, so you need to allow bicyclists and pedestrians through. The town gets to determine how that happens. And in the meantime, the sidewalks get, the curbs get improved, the stormwater gets improved, all that gets built into the project.
There'll be further, the TDOT representatives had requested a second community meeting, and that'll be held. They usually set the time and place and who's coming and all of that. So when we hear that, this would be a good time to ask questions with Nate and everyone else's input, so that TDOT and Mountain Goat Trail are all on the same page. So that'll go on. Did somebody raise their hand out there? Marcy?
I was just, so this is going to be coordinated with TDOT and the roundabouts and
Correct.
all that construction that they were
Correct.
talking about. So
Yes.
that's all going to be.
And there will be public meetings associated with both of these contracts as well, as required by TDOT.
That's what I said.
For
So we
these.
agree. Yes, for these,
Okay, yeah.
for everything.
We agree on everything.
I know. Okay. Are you going to discuss St. John Engineering?
Well, I think we need to vote on this first one. And then the next is the St.
Oh,
John's
I'm sorry,
Engineering
I said
contract.
corrected. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All- Yes or no? No? Okay. All those in favor?
There was no motion made, we just don't do it.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for your assistance. Is there a motion to accept the letter that you have reviewed for the second intermodal grant?
Yes, I will make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, would you like to discuss St. John Engineering?
Yeah, so now that the next task on the agenda is a contract with an engineering firm to design the first multimodal. And so tonight we have Adam Carter from St. John's Engineering is here. Adam, you want to come and tell us about what you're proposing to do? And so while he's coming up, the town solicited proposals for this, and we received proposals from 4 engineering firms. And from that, we whittled down to 3 that we sent follow-up proposals to. And of those 3, St. John is the one that we're hoping to select tonight. So all that happened in workshops, which is why y'all are seeing this for the first time. And St. John Engineering has designed several sections of the trail in the past, including almost everything between here and Tracy City and everything in Tracy City. But you can tell us all about that. Sorry.
So, like Councilman Wilson said, I'm Adam Carter with St. John Engineering. Many of you may know our president, Scott St. John. He's done quite a bit of work up here with the city on the fire department and things like that, I believe. So,
excuse me for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Ivan, Michelle, are we getting that broadcast? Is the mic working? Okay,
sorry.
fine.
Am I better now?
Yep.
Thank you.
How about that? Can you hear me? So, like I was saying, we've done quite a bit of work up here with the city and also with the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance, and look forward to working with y'all on another successful project here.
Is there?
So this is a lump sum contract with not to exceed, but it's all based on hourly rates for both survey and design work. It does not include construction administration because we're not sure. TDOT may incorporate this into their bridge project once it's all designed. So we left that part of it out of the contract. If they ask us to build it, we may have to go back and do another contract for actual construction administration.
Will TDOT accept their basic phase 1 before construction? So there's no problem you have with TDOT?
No, sir.
And do you have a timeline as to when you would start and finish and what the general overall picture is?
As far as start and design on it, we'll begin just as soon as the city wants us to begin. Now the TDOT process, as you know, it's quite a process when you consider NEPA and all that type of thing in there. So we'll be diligent in pursuing it, but it's hard to say as far as any kind of dead-on timeline at this point.
And I see that you show Mountain Goat Trail Alliance, so you'll be working with them as well as TDOT.
Yes, sir. Yes, there'll be a lot of coordination when it comes to environmental and the city's goals and Mountain Goat Trail Alliance and TDOT. So there'll be a lot of coordination there.
Thank you. Alderman, does anyone have a question?
Well, the timeline for TDOT from the previous meeting we had with them revealed a possible land acquisition in 2024, and then construction started in 2025.
Yes.
That's what I understood. Some $25 to $30 million project, and somehow this is going to fit in that same thing, but our engineering is going to run in front of them to give them maybe some guidelines in reference to what we'd like the Mountain Goat Trail will look like. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We'll be sure and keep in contact and try to stay ahead of TDOT. That way we can be back and forth with them and know how our project needs to merge with them and how all those gears need to work together.
But part of the goal in this is to sort of beat TDOT to the punch. If we can have our design done before they're ready for construction, that makes it more likely that they can just roll it into their construction project.
Makes sense.
Do we know what the not to exceed fee is?
76.5, I think.
Yes, 76,560.
It's here
Is
somewhere.
that correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
I'm not sure.
It was what's highlighted in yellow in the attached spreadsheet there, $76,560.
I'm sorry.
$76,560, just what you said.
That's what thank you.
And so this is their hourly rates for each service and how many hours they anticipate for that. That's how they laid out their whole contract.
With TDOT, of course, that's purely an estimate on the number of hours, but that not to exceed fee, is what states.
Understood. Any other questions or comments from the alderman? Does this come out of the
So 95% of it comes out of the grant and 5% will come from the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance. So what we think is simplest is every time they bill, they'll just CC, they do digital billing, so they'll send you a bill and Patrick will be CC'd and we'll bring a check for 5% up in that way.
But the town will be paying you.
Correct. Yes, sir.
But the town will do what?
We'll be paying the engineering firm, St. John, but we'll be reimbursed from Mountain Road Trail Alliance.
Yeah.
Okay. So the city's not out any money?
Correct.
Understandable. Okay.
Yes.
And which part, is this from Catherine to DeBose?
This is Catherine Ave to Assembly Avenue.
Okay, okay. And the other part is where?
The second grant we talked about picks up at Assembly Avenue and runs to the DeBose Center.
These are expensive projects, aren't they? Jeez.
And the state seems to be funding them at $1 million each.
So part of the issue is that we don't know what we're getting into with stormwater. So the stormwater that's in place has been in there a long time. So the budgets have to sort of awfulize because you don't know what you're going to get into until you look in all the manholes. So in a perfect world, it's not that bad. Adam and I have talked about it. We've actually walked the downtown strip, and assuming once they get into the stormwater and the stormwater, the existing system can be reused, it might actually be a lot cheaper. But you saw that most of that project that happened there between the liquor store and Mountain Outfitters, I mean, what took so long was them getting all the stormwater in. And that was what was so expensive. That's what drove that project.
And there are other
pricing.
stormwater projects that will be addressed with the bridge work between the liquor store and the
Right.
hotel and down by McDonald's area. So a lot of this will be addressed, including even the lighting. We understand as part of the TDOT project. So there'll be some significant changes, as Mr. Lay has mentioned. Anything else for this gentleman?
No, I'm good.
Then what do you need now, Mr. Wilson?
Need a motion to approve their contract.
Okay. Other than Mr. Wilson, I'll accept a motion to approve the contract of St. John Engineering
I'll make such
for
a
this
motion.
project. Thank you.
We
Is there-
accept the contract with St. John's Engineering.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Doreen?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay. I think the only thing left on the agenda is citizen comment. Does anyone have anything to say to close us out?
I have another question.
Go ahead.
So both grants are with TDOT?
Both.
And the second one?
Yes, and they're-
That's what I thought, but I couldn't remember. The other thing was a long time.
And one has been received, and that's the one we just did the contract for, and the other we are applying for. So we won't know about that one. I think the application deadline is sometime at the end of the summer.
Got it. So that,
Okay. Any other citizens wish to be heard? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all very much.